10x
Okay.
is easier than 2x.
Yeah.
But it's our job to not suffer in those emotions.
People know where they want to go.
Out there, how do I get there?
Okay. Good afternoon. And today I would like to interview my really good friend who came to Costa Rica on the same day, almost 17 years ago. And she is a coach, a master coach. That's how I came to know her. And I know that she has done so many other things. And I'm sure that she has been, through ups and downs, even though she doesn't look like that. She looks like always up and up. But today I would like to hear what she has been through, how she was raised, how her childhood influenced her life and determined, what she has been doing. So this is Sara Vaslow, my friend, good friend.
It's wonderful to be here,
Yes.
Hasana.
So please introduce yourself and let me know how you were raised as a child and how such upbringing influenced you in your future life.
Wow, that's a big question. So, let's see, I was raised in a small town, and I have a twin brother. And he's 3 minutes older than I am, but he's 6 feet tall, and I was 5'2", shrunk a little, and I have an older sister, a sister 6 years older, and a brother 10 years older. So it was almost like having two different families. But I lived in a small town, so it was very different. It was very different being. So my experience is I've now lived in major urban cities and I really love it, but I was raised in a town of like 10,000 people where you knew everyone and everyone knew you. My grandfather was in this little town of 10,000 was really famous. I mean, famous for the area.
Yes.
And my father as well. And my grandfather did a lot of humanitarian type things, and my father and did as well. And so I guess what I learned was I was very, very lucky. My grandfather was a very successful real estate agent, broker, and my dad was an attorney. And I just got this sense about working, this work ethic. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom, but she was her work ethic. Like the whole family had this really intense work ethic. It's like there wasn't a possibility you were not going to go to college or you were not going to work. And it was just like that was no. It's like you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth. That's what it was like. Like I knew I was going to go to college. I knew I was going to work and support myself, maybe my whole life. And so I think that was really the foundation. Can I tell you a story?
Yeah, please do. But was that the norm in your 10,000, population little town? I mean, every girl.
No,
felt that way.
Well, so this is the story I want to tell you.
Go ahead.
So one day I was sitting in my high school library.
Yeah.
Doing work. Oh, that's my phone. Should I turn it off?
Can you?
Okay. So I was sitting in my high school library, and I was at a table, much like this.
Yeah.
And I was a sophomore, and they were all seniors sitting at the table with me.
Yeah.
And so there was some discussion. It just happened. There was some discussion about what they were going to do after high school.
Right.
And I just assumed everyone goes to college,
right.
And well, certainly by the time I was a sophomore in high school, my older brother had already gone off to college, or was out of college. I think he might have been in law school at that point. And my sister, when I was a sophomore, my sister was already in college, and she may have been already doing her PhD in biochemistry.
Oh my gosh.
I told you that work ethic kind of carried through. So, but I was sitting at this I was sitting, it's probably my husband, I was sitting at this library table. We're all supposed to be doing work, but there was a conversation. I wasn't involved because I didn't know. I mean, I knew who everyone was because it was a small town, but they weren't my friends so much. And I'm listening to all these girls, because I guess they were women, girls at the time, and they're all talking about what they're going to do next year. Yes. And like one out of 5 was going to college. And that just floored me. It shocked me. Yeah. Like, how is it possible? Like, why wouldn't everyone be going to college? And I have a different perspective on college in this moment, but at that moment, it was like college was like you had to go to college, and so that was kind of like that foundation, the foundation of work and being responsible, and I guess. Kind of before we started recording, the conversation about having the expertise, how to, we've been in this world long enough to have developed expertise. And when you're 20, you don't have that expertise. No. And so, it's a matter of a journey. Like how does one go out and get that expertise? And for me, I'm in judgment, going out and getting that expertise, sitting at home and let's say watching TV or everything can be productive these days. If you're a gamer, like video games, there's learning, and there's, of course, that we have Roberta. You should interview her. Roberta. Yes. She's an artist. Yes. Yeah, and I knew this before I talked to her, but she has this philosophy that to become an expert, you need to have spent 10,000 hours doing something. Yes. Yes. And I totally agree with her. If I look back on the different threads of my life and the different 10,000 hours I've spent, I can definitely see how I've developed expertise in areas. And but it's so interesting as a young person who's getting out of high school or out of college, how do you develop that expertise, So anyway.
How do you think they should?
Well, that's a very good question, because I think it's about figuring out what is really in your heart, what is congruent with who you are. And at 20, that may be a little challenging to figure out. So you do whatever it seems at that moment. And in your life, you could have 5 or 6 or more different paths.
Yeah, paths. Yes.
But I think it's really important. Like when I got out of high school and went to college, before I went to college, I thought what I want to do. Why did I want to go to college?
Did you know that at that time, at the age of 18 or 19?
Yeah. I wanted to, I had the feeling that I wanted to. Well, my family was entrepreneurs. My dad had his own law practice. My grandfather was had his own real estate brokerage. My uncle made fabulous cheese. Look for Herkimer County cheese in the U.S. And so, entrepreneurship was kind of in there. And so I knew I wanted to do something that was going to impact other people. Okay. As a young child, I remember at 12 years old thinking, and it's really interesting because what happened in my life is at 12 years old, I made this decision that I would not have children.
You did? At the age of 12?
Yes, because there were already so many children in the world who needed help.
Right, right.
That why it wouldn't make sense for me to add to that. Now, as I grew up, as I grew older, I did want to have children, but it did turn out that I didn't. But I thought, there's so many people who need help and guidance.
Yeah, yeah.
And I saw that at 12 years old.
Oh my
you know?
God.
Yeah, yeah, it was really interesting.
Really advanced, at the age of 12 to even think like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
And also coming from my town, you know, I later lived in New York City and some other major
GPS signal lost.
some other major cities, but
GPS signal recovered.
you can turn it off if you want. But you know, my town of Herkimer, there wasn't a lot of poverty.
There
You know,
was?
There was not.
There was not.
No, there was not. I mean, there was definitely an economic difference, but
Of
that's
course.
everywhere in the world.
Right, right.
You know,
But not like this.
no, it was not like that. You know,
You think it's more like a middle class, upper middle class kind of thing? You were
I think there
raised-
were upper middle class, but I think there were also lower middle class.
But middle class
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah, I mean, there may have been people that were struggling. You know, definitely some people that were, you know, there's a portion, but I think overall, at that time, right now, the town I grew up in I was back there in September, and it was actually pretty sad. I mean, I loved being there, and it was great being there, but it's not at all like when I grew up.
Really?
Upstate New York had a lot of industry. There were a number of factories. GE was General Electric had not in my town. They didn't have a factory, but they had some factories in the area. There was just a lot of manufacturing. I think if someone were to study economics and the economy of the world, like what really produces, and it may be changing, you know, because of the technology we now have, but even so, it seems that countries that are thriving have a lot of manufacturing.
Yes.
Keeps people working, keeps products on the shelf. You know, it creates more opportunity.
Right.
And my town at that time
Wasn't like that.
was like that. There was somebody that made gloves. There was somebody that made clothing. My uncle made cheese. You know, there was a lot of manufacturing. And now,
No more.
no.
Oh, wow.
The town is called Herkimer, and in the outskirts of Herkimer, there happens to be a lot of crystal cavities, crystal, you know, that you can mine, and so that's popular. There's one family that owns the mine, and it's turned into quite a tourist attraction. But there's really not
Nothing?
a lot of manufacturing going on.
Yeah. So I guess as a young child, you had the idea that you will be somebody. You will have to have, you know, bachelor's degree minimum kind of thing.
Right.
So was success important in your family or in your life? Or did you think about being successful one day?
Well, I mean, I guess it would be yes is the answer. You know,
So what was then, at that time, as a young woman, what was the definition of being successful?
Well, I think living your best life is how I could put it now.
But
for
back
instance, yes.
How did that definition evolve?
Okay, well, I think it evolved seeing my older brother doing so well. He was valedictorian of his class. My sister was third in her class. You know, my dad was a successful attorney.
GPS signal lost.
And so I saw people being successful, you know, accomplishing things. And so for me, I don't remember middle school so much as in high school. I had this goal. There was something called an activity award.
Okay.
And for the different activities that you were in, you got points. And so I was in a lot of activities. I was very athletic. I did a lot of sports, and I got points for that. I worked on the high school newspaper. I worked on the high school yearbook.
Okay.
I was in a play.
Yeah.
So, and I got points for all of that. And it turned out in my senior year at the awards banquet that, they had every year for the seniors, the people who had gotten, I want to say there were activity cups or something like that. I got 2 of them.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if anyone else did that, but I had. Oh, and then you got, if you were not just in a group, I was in a lot of clubs. Like if you were like not just in the club, but you were in leadership, you also got more points.
Okay.
So it was like, I don't know. I'm not saying I just did everything to get the points. But in the back of my mind, I knew, if I want to be a well-known person in my class with this activity award, and then you got a sports letter. If you weren't enough sports, you got a letter. But in order to do that, it developed me as a person.
Okay.
Which was really part of my journey. It's like I didn't just be on, like I was a cheerleader. So I didn't just become a cheerleader, I became one of the leaders of the cheerleaders. I wasn't the captain, but I was definitely an organizer.
So moving upward was really important for you.
Yeah.
In a social setting.
Yeah,
instead of being like comparing yourself of yesterday to today's. It's more like
well, I wouldn't call it a social
acknowledgement.
I guess it would be
others?
acknowledgement. But I when I think social settings, I think of like going to a party and hanging out. Like
I don't mean that.
Yeah.
In terms of you versus acknowledgement by the others, that
Right.
kind of thing. So for you, success means the acknowledgement by the outside world.
I would say that's part of it.
Part of it.
But I think also not just acknowledgement of others, but feeling of fulfillment that I've achieved something.
Yeah. Getting better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Or last
I guess
year.
that's
Something like that.
Getting better than last year.
Last year.
Yeah.
Than
Yeah.
before anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
yes,
good.
Yes, yeah.
So that's where you are in terms of when you look back, whether you have been successful or not?
Well, I'd say that really created a great foundation. And I think at this point, my labeling it a success is connected to how fulfilled I feel in life. That I feel like I've had a very fulfilling life. I feel like I've helped a lot of people. I feel like I've learned a lot. And I have the ability to do so many different things that, it's been great.
Yeah.
I feel like I've,
Yeah,
I don't know that I would, I wouldn't, like it wasn't my path to become a famous actor or to become a famous athlete or become a chairman or CEO of a $1 billion company. That wasn't my path.
No.
My path was where I am right now today, and I'm really very happy with it.
Yeah, that's wonderful,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I think in order to come to that point, I'm sure there are certain dramatic event or some really big event or occasions that you went through where you had a self-doubt or doubting yourself, or you felt kind of, oh no, I just can't do this.
Right.
Kind of feelings.
Right.
Or the situations. Or did you have those anyway?
Well,
and if you did,
I mean, when I finished with college, I wasn't sure where I was going into retailing, so I applied to Macy's and Bloomingdale's, places in New York City, and that was really a challenging time because it was totally out of my control. I could show up at an interview, be the best I could be. But if someone didn't like me, then you don't get it.
Right. What
you
can
know?
you do? Right.
Yeah. And so that was challenging.
How did you get out of that?
Well, I got a job. I did get a job offer from Macy's. And it was phenomenal. I mean, it was phenomenal.
But I mean, before you got the Macy's job, you must have like this, right?
Oh,
what kind of practice or what kind of habit or mental, you know, the change helped you to deal with that such difficult time?
So thinking, it's interesting. I have not thought about this in a lot of years. But thinking back to that moment in time, I focused on graduating from college, which I was very grateful for, and it was great, wonderful.
Also, you applied for jobs before you graduated from the college. Okay.
So it was in my senior year, second half. And the year before, I had spent a year in Amsterdam, Holland. So I was coming off of a really up experience. It was exciting being in a foreign country and learning a foreign language. And I mean, it was amazing. And I lived in Amsterdam, and I lived with a Dutch family. So
you speak Dutch?
Klein beetje. I learned,
you did at some point.
I did. And
do you still keep it?
Not really.
All right.
I could not. The way I judge knowing a language is being able to have a conversation.
Sure.
And I cannot have a conversation in Dutch. So, but it was fun. I guess I learned as Spanish. I learned enough to get by.
Okay, very good.
But I got back to the U.S. and my first semester senior year, kind of, that worked on that transition, and that was a little tough. That was actually a very difficult period in my life because although I lived with people in an apartment who I absolutely adored, I couldn't live with them. I don't know if it was chemistry or just what I had gone through and where they were in their life, but it just, I got depressed, and I actually went to a therapist.
Yes. Did that help?
Well, I didn't go to a therapist. A friend of my family's was a therapist, and he spent one session with me, and he said, the bottom line to this is you need to move and live alone. And so I did. I moved out of that apartment. And I got another place to live, and everything was great again.
On your own?
Yeah, everything was great. I was in a dorm. I was still in a dorm, so I wasn't on my own. But it was really an interesting experience, like you said, going, and figuring out how to solve it. Like I didn't have to suffer in that situation. I started class in September, lived with them only through, I think it was November or December, and realized it wasn't working out.
Right.
And talked to this gentleman, and he was like,
it
sounds like this is what would really help you. And I said, and I took action and got another place to live, and it was great. And then but it was really interesting because even though it was the rest of my semester, I went to Syracuse University, the rest of my semester was great.
So it seems like, just to review it, it seems like when you had a problem in this particular case, you at least you sought some help, assistance, or the assistance or help, advice from others, and then you listened to, in this case, his advice, and you took action. That made a big difference. So that's good.
And I've been in situations where I've worked with other advisors that it didn't connect with me. And I think it's important. I think people must realize that maybe it's getting advice from three people, three different people, so that you can know maybe all three will be great, but maybe one will just resonate
Right.
more with you.
Yes.
But this was just one man, and it was great.
But it resonated in you.
It resonated.
Yeah.
It worked out.
Yeah.
But also, it was really interesting, and I'm not even sure how I got this idea. But I finished up, before I even finished up my semester at Syracuse, I ended up transferring to NYU, New York University. So I knew that I wanted to move to New York for work, but it also made sense for me to move to New York City. I got accepted at NYU. It was called Special Student Status.
Okay.
And so I didn't get my degree from New York. It came from Syracuse. But all the credits that I took at NYU transferred to Syracuse. And I was ahead of schedule in all of my classes. So I took all electives when I went to NYU. I took an art class, which was just wild. I mean, it was just like I took these great classes and everything, all the credits transferred to Syracuse, and I graduated from Syracuse. I went to Syracuse graduation. But I've always had this, like at 12 years old, having this idea about kids. And I've always had this plan or this thought that I wanted to work, like think of what was the goal out there.
Okay.
And if I'm here, how do I get there?
Okay.
So it was never like, I'm here, what do I do next? It's out there, how do I get there?
Okay.
And then it's what do I do next?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense, yeah. So you have a very clear idea of your target, or your goal, very clear. And then you always looked at it, and then you just move towards that, yes?
Yeah.
Instead of what's next? If you don't have a goal, what direction can you go?
Right.
You cannot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's where that's one of my superpowers in working with people is I always ask them, where do they want to go?
As a coach, that's why you're a master coach.
That's
yes?
why. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, when you deal with your clients as a coach, master coach, do most people know where they want to go?
Oh no.
No.
Oh no. No. I mean, some people know. But I think often that it's some people know exactly where they want to go. Some people have an idea of where they want to go, and some people have no clue.
No clue
of where they want to go, but they know that they're not feeling very fulfilled.
That's why they come
in the
to
moment. Well, it's really interesting. Most of the clients that I work with are pretty clear on where they want to go.
Okay.
I've worked with the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
And I love each person I work with.
Of course.
However, it seems that a majority of the clients that I have worked with, when I look back on my career as a coach, have been people that know where they're going. In that moment, they're having that doubt, or they're having some being unclear about how to get to where they want to go. And but they know where that outcome is. They just are not sure. Is it like getting on a highway? Do I take this exit or another exit?
Right.
What's the best one?
But if you don't know where you want to go, like for example, you want to go someplace. Many people say, "Oh, I want to go someplace." Where could that someplace be, right? Oh, is that New York or Japan or Africa?
So when you work with someone who says, "I want to go someplace," then it's about chunking it down into what, if you were already there, what would it look like, or what would it feel like?
Right. So let's practice. Okay. Oh, Sara, I want to be rich.
Great.
How can I be rich?
Oh, you absolutely can be rich. Absolutely.
But I don't feel like that, though.
Okay, so one of the things that we would want to change is how you feel. Like, how would you know when you were rich? Is rich $1, or is rich $100, or is rich $1 million, or is it $1 billion? What does rich mean to you?
Oh. No, dollar is not enough.
Yeah.
Even 1,000 not enough. 1 million is not enough. No.
Okay.
No. So maybe
what's
if
your
I
number?
have 10 million, I might feel rich.
Great.
Yes.
And okay, emotionally, what would that feel like? Picture yourself right now, and your bank accounts say you have 10 million. Like it can be, real estate. It can be other investments, but whatever your whole economic overview says you have $10 million. What do you feel like?
At least I think I will feel really.
No, so don't say you will. Say I feel.
Okay.
With $10 million.
Okay, with $10 million, I feel safe, and I feel stable, and then I feel free to do anything I want to do.
Excellent.
Yeah?
Okay.
And no anxiety about money.
Exactly.
Good.
Okay. So that's where you're going. Does that seem clear to you?
Yes. But I'm not sure, though, how I can get 10 million yet.
Right. So that's the journey.
Okay.
So what you want to do is start out with, okay, let's just use a leap of faith. Okay. Let's go for the 1 million. Okay.
First million.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go for the first million.
Yes.
And the question would be, do you know anyone that has made that first million?
Yeah.
Okay. And what would it be like for you to start that journey towards $1 million? Let's say you didn't have anything right now.
Okay.
So
at least I think, I can keep my job at this time, and then I can have a second hustle job, because, I teach English, and I can take a few English students, and then probably if I'm really good at that, and then they will give me word of mouth referrals. So I think if I have this year 10 students, I can. How much can I save? Because that will be in addition.
That is actually the crucial point here, is you can work hard, and it's how you live, which allows you to save a certain percentage, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20%.
Right.
Because that is the money you'll build to the million.
Yes.
And that million will be what will build to the 10 million.
Yes. I can put that second job thing, in this case, it's going to be my own business.
Okay.
And I'll put all that income into a special bank account, the investment or savings or whatever.
Okay.
And then I will do it compound.
Okay.
The thing.
Excellent.
So if I do that, maybe maybe I can do more. Like if I teach individually, and then down the road, I think I can have group teaching. So that way I can make more money for the same amount of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's possible.
And what if you created a course that brought in some passive income?
Yes.
You posted you had a so we're getting into how.
Yeah, okay.
And that really is going to be, we can work on that.
Yes. But sometimes, yes, I used to take a lot of courses, right? Seminars, whatever I did. Yes, when I go there, then I get so excited and say, okay, we'll do it. And then coming home, and right now, my husband passed away, so I'm alone, right?
Yes.
And then I feel, oh no, I can't do it. And then I start doubting. I said, no, $1 million is not important. What can I do when I feel that way?
First of all, take a deep breath. Great. Okay. And when you think about that 10 million, you described it. What did that feel like?
You know what? If I had 10 million, probably I would not be living like the way I am living now. Probably I would be traveling more.
Right.
Probably I would be meeting my friends more in cafe or
right.
restaurants, or
right.
or maybe I will be belonging a little bit high-end club,
Right.
you know, where I
Right.
can meet people, and
Okay,
then I'll
so
be really happy.
I'm going to interrupt you a second.
Okay.
Because those are the things. Those are the things about being a millionaire.
Okay.
What are the emotions? How do you feel when you're in
I
that
would
point
feel
in your
really
life?
free, and also I would feel really part of some kind of a group or some kind of belonging. How
Okay,
does-
so
I
free
feel
and belonging.
free and belonging.
Yeah.
And free and belonging.
How would you feel about yourself
Um,
when you have 10 million? How will you feel about yourself?
it's not so much about the money, though. I
No.
will be really happy, you know, and then I will be more outgoing,
Okay.
yeah, and then I will be more confident
Right.
about who I am.
Right.
Something
So
like
okay,
that.
so close your eyes. You would feel free. You would feel like you belonged. You would feel more confident. So I want you to bring those emotions forward to this moment where you're talking about your teaching and your job. And that when you have that doubt, what you want to do is come back to this place of feeling free, belonging, and confident. So when you have those feelings of doubt, or, you know, I don't know what else, that
Kind
it's
of
really
depression, yeah.
depression is hard,
Or loneliness, maybe.
right?
Yeah.
So get those feelings of freedom in your body. Get them in your head. The joy, the happiness that comes along with that, the confidence. And now, when you look at what you do, the teaching and your job, how does that feel?
With teaching, it's okay. I can do that. When I teach, I can get that feeling. But about the job I have, it's not that easy
Yeah.
to bring me, you know, that kind of,
Right.
you know, belonging
Right.
and the confidence kind of thing.
So the idea is to keep the focus. It's sort of like, there's a gentleman that wrote a book, it's on Amazon, called 10X
10x, okay?
is easier than 2X. So where you are right now is thinking about 1 or 2Xing your life.
Right.
So it's not about thinking about where you are right now. It's about thinking how you'll feel when you're 10X'd, when you've you know, increased your life to where you want with that, you know, 10 million, you know, as we talked.
Yeah.
And when you don't feel that way, is focus on what it will feel like to get your body and your emotional state moving towards where you want to be. It opens you up.
Yeah.
One of the things about, you know, you're in a, using this example of your teaching and your job.
Right.
You're a very, you have a lot of resources. But resources are only good to the point where you can use them. But if you don't have the right resources, what you need to do is be resourceful. And I know you. You're very resourceful.
Yeah.
So it's remembering that you are resourceful and that 10 million is where you want to be and how you want to feel. And that doubt will just start dissipating.
Yeah.
So when and it's a job. Getting rid of doubt and feeling less confident. Everyone has that.
Right.
I have that.
Yeah.
But it's our job to not suffer in those emotions.
Right. Well, not to focus on those things.
Right.
We should be focusing on.
Because usually if you have those thoughts, they're thoughts.
Yes.
They're coming from your head.
Right.
Are they really true?
No.
Right.
And we are choosing those things,
Right.
you know. But we can unchoose. Well, We can
exactly, you can unchoose.
Yeah, unchoose those things.
You
yeah.
can make a different choice about
Exactly.
how you want to feel. And if you want
with the feelings too, we can anytime we can choose to be happy instead of depressed, right?
Totally.
Yeah, yeah.
It's totally a choice.
Yeah.
I worked over the last year and a half to hike Mount Everest.
Yes, yes, yes.
And as you know, so I'm very athletic, but I was not in shape because I love working. I devote a lot of time to working.
Yes.
That doesn't help when you want to climb
Mount Everest, right?
17,000 foot.
Oh my God!
Base
Yes, in
camp.
cold too.
In cold, yes.
Oh my God! And you are in the tropical
Right.
most of the time.
Right. So preparing for that was really tough. It was really, really tough. So it came to the point where when I was hiking and I didn't necessarily want to be, so hiking to prepare was like hiking up mountains and hills that were like this, not like this. No. They're like this.
Right.
You know,
in cold.
In the cold.
Yes.
But I mean, down here when I was practicing, and it was, there were many times where I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Oh my God, this is so hard. And,
right.
and I had to work up to being able to hike for 5 to 6 hours at a time. So I'd be out hiking for 6 hours
in the heat
for 6 hours at a time. I mean, my clothes would be drenched. You know, I was tired. My feet hurt, and I just had to change my focus. I had to make a choice.
What kept you moving toward that goal?
You know, I just am so goal oriented.
Are you? Always.
Yeah, and it's not because nobody cares. I mean, we live in a world of 7 billion people. You know, nobody cares what I do.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
My husband cares. You know, maybe some friends care.
Right.
But it was something that I wanted to do, and that was really important to know. I wasn't doing it for any external award or acknowledgement or anything like that. You know.
So that's how. Then hearing your story as a child, you know, most of the time when you're young, you wanted some outside acknowledgement, right? Now you have come to the place where you want to acknowledge your own goals and fulfillment. Yeah. That's the journey. Yeah.
And that's the same thing with the 10 million.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. No.
It's all how you feel inside.
Yes.
And when you have that doubt, is finding the thing that you can say to yourself, this is important, or this is who I want to be.
Right.
This is who I'm becoming.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not a hike. I don't like to say I'm not something, but I'm a hiker. I'm just not an avid hiker. You know, I don't, like, there are people in the world who hike every weekend. They love it. It's my work I feel that way about work.
Yes.
You know, but there's hikers that are like, oh my gosh, and they'll hike all of the highest mountains in the world. And I mean, I really admire them because it takes a great deal of determination and confidence and focus, and, you know, just a lot of study to know how to manage that. But they make that decision. Everything is all about a choice about how you see something. If you're going for 10 million or you're hiking Mount Everest, it's all a choice on what you say to yourself, which brings you to where you want to be.
Yeah. So now, what's next in your life?
Gosh. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Right now, what I'm working on is learning technology.
Really?
Yes. I am enjoying learning AI a great deal and what that can do for my business and how that knowledge can help me help others that I'm coaching.
Oh my.
So I'm doing a lot of work with marketing, marketing funnels, and what a funnel is, and
yeah.
oh my gosh, just all the different pieces. It's CRMs, customer relationship management, SEO, search engine optimization, websites. Just learning a lot about technology and marketing, and so marketing is all about getting people's attention, and sales is all about helping people to make the decision of what's best for them to serve them. And so as a coach right now, I am open to having more coaching clients. So I'm working on marketing and sales in building my coaching business. And I'm also in another passion I have is network marketing, is helping other people become entrepreneurs. And so I work with 3 different companies, and I am introducing people all the time into those companies so that they can have a start at being an entrepreneur. One of the things I like about network marketing is it's got a very low cost of entry. So somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur, you could go into business and own a restaurant, but it'll cost $100,000
Minimum, yes.
Right. And whatever business, it could be very expensive, but for someone who doesn't have any business experience, starting out with network marketing gives them the feeling of what it's like to wear every different hat. As a network marketer, you're actually what's called an independent sales rep for a company. And that company supplies you with marketing materials and support and things like that, but you're the owner of your business.
Right.
And for somebody who's never done it, network marketing is a great way to get started. And it gives them a chance, gives people a chance to start making small amounts of money, which can turn into large amounts. So,
So, I mean, since you are dealing with so many different things, that the coaching and network marketing, and also learning about AI and technologies and things like that. I mean, you must be spending a lot of hours, working, right? Working. And you have a family, you have a husband. So I think everybody in the world may be talking about, I think they're talking about the balance between the family and the professional things, right? How do you deal with that?
In my coaching, working with clients, it's always a conversation. Everyone is working to strategically figure out how their calendar looks. That's just the way it works.
Right.
And for me,
for you,
I have figured out I have a daily ritual. Rituals are really important.
So tell me more about it. What kind of rituals do you have?
So first thing in the morning, I journal and meditate, and I actually do some chanting. When I went to Mount Everest, I spent some time in Nepal and Bhutan, and so now my husband and I do some chanting in the morning together. So I get grounded.
Right.
I get the right messages in my head. And because every day it can be challenging to keep doing the same thing over and over again. Business is like planting a garden. You plant a seed. And it just the next day you look at your garden, it's not fully grown. You don't have a flower, you don't have a piece of fruit. And business is the same way. So I do a lot of the same things over and over again. And then you start seeing the reaping the harvest. So in the mornings, as I say, I get grounded. I give myself the right messages. I actually decide. There's something called spiral dynamics, and it gives you a measurement of your emotional state. So the top is joy, and the bottom is depression or whatever that might be. And so there's a range. And I wake up in the morning and do, as I said, my journaling, and I decide what is going to be my emotional state today.
Oh, wow.
And that's the way I live it. There are challenges, there's like this hour something might happen, or that hour something. but my overall decision is how am I going to live today? And
So every day you decide that.
every day I decide that.
And how much time do you spend doing, the meditation, chanting, the writing, the journals and things like that?
It's probably about an hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then exercise.
You do physical exercise?
Yes.
What do you do?
Walk. I either walk in my area or I have a treadmill and I have what's called a rebounder. So, but generally I'll do the rebounding at night when I'm watching TV with my husband.
Rebounder.
A rebounder is it's a small trampoline.
Okay,
It's
okay.
a small trampoline.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's see. So the first hour is for myself a lot of nutritional things, making protein smoothies and a little breakfast and getting the right nutrition in the body, because you can't work if you don't have fuel. We're like a car. We need to have fuel, otherwise we can't work. And so it's fueling, it's taking care of my mental, emotional state, and then it's on to work. And it's work, and explore and look at and all this, this information that's going on in my business. And one of the things I do is I have set a day for the different focuses that I have. I do have one day for each focus so that I'm not trying to do everything in one day. I'm not giving an hour to this and an hour to that and an hour to this. I do one day, one focus, and that does help.
Okay.
It helps me a lot.
Oh, that's good.
And I work until 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and that's it.
That's it.
And then I spend that time with my husband.
Oh, so that's the balance, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Some people use the word failure a lot. Nowadays, or anytime, I suppose. Do you believe in that? Or have you ever felt that you failed, and then if you did, how did you get out of that?
So I don't believe in failure.
Okay. All right.
Because you can always learn something in a situation where something hasn't worked out the way you want it. True, if you say, okay, let's say we're at the end of the year, okay? So now people are looking at, well, what did I do all year? And if you have a business and you wanted it to do $1 million or $10 million and you didn't make it, is that a failure? We have a chance right now to look back at the last, 11 months and say, well, these are the decisions I made. These are the choices I made. So this worked out. I got closer to where I wanted to be. This was in my way. I'm not going to do that again. And in fact, if your listeners would like to stay in touch with me, I have something I would like to share with them, and it's called I can't believe you did that. It's called my Momentum Manifesto 2025, and it's a form. It is about 10 pages. Oh, wow. And it's a review it's a guided exercise. So it's a PDF. And so it asks you questions and you respond, you write it down. It's like journaling. Yeah. And from there you go through the whole exercise. And at the end of the exercise, you'll have a plan for next year.
Well, you have to give it to me.
I will.
Yes,
I will. It's really excellent.
Yeah, I think we can put it. Yes.
Yeah. Put my link in the bottom.
Yeah, bottom. Yes, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I need for 2025 because I don't know what I want to do. Next year.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that'd be great.
And if anyone wants, I am happy to work with someone for 15 to 20 minutes if they're going to do the exercise and they want some help. Some review of the exercise or debriefing of the exercise. I'm happy to do that too. So I can give you my calendar schedule.
Yeah, and then the contact. Yeah. Just give me the contact information so that people can. Yes.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
But I did want to say one thing about so my life is pretty simple.
Yeah.
I'm married. I have a husband. I'm pretty targeted. A lot of people don't have that. it's so different when you've got kids. You've got, 1 or 3 or 5,
Yes.
kids running around.
Yeah.
So it's really about being honest with yourself. Like, what is the amount of time you have,
Yes.
and how you can, parcel that out. And I say yes to a lot of things because I have more time.
Right,
It's just
right.
me. But when you have children, it's about saying no to some things, and feeling like no right now in this time of your life is the right thing to say.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it's failure. It just means that it just takes you a little longer to get to where you want to go.
Well, it also depends on what you want to out of life, no?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Okay. So
Okay.
at the end, if is there any word you can give to the audience who wants to live her or his life more fully, but still afraid and don't know where to start? Suppose that they're young or they're in the middle age, feeling that they're incompetent,
Right.
in a way, yeah?
Right. You said a word, and so I would say
Word or phrases
a
or
phrase.
sentence?
Yeah. Is think about yourself as as triumphant.
Mm-hmm.
What would it feel like when you're triumphant? So in all of those moments when you're in fear, you're focusing on fear. You're focusing on something not working out. It's changing the perspective on how you look at something. And it's a habit. Our society is focused on looking, what haven't I done yet? What did I do wrong? What was wrong with me? Instead, it's saying, okay, how was I triumphant today? What was one thing I did, or let's say 3 things I did, or 3 things I learned from today. What are 3 things I learned from today? And what was one thing I did really, really well? And I would suggest doing that every day. And because what it does is it starts giving you, it's called stacking successes, as opposed to stacking, negatives. And on that spiral dynamic, going up is your positive emotional state, going down are the negatives. You want to stack, so you're going up.
Yeah.
That's really important, is to continue asking yourself, what's the gift or the learning I got today, versus what did I do wrong?
Right, right.
And
That's really depressing, isn't it? When you
yeah,
start thinking like that, yeah.
Our society really focuses on. I shouldn't. Society's a broad term, but
Yeah.
it's people being victims, or being. There was another word I wanted to use, but being a loser, being a victim, and it's all a mindset. I think that's what I got when I was 12 years old, or sitting with those kids at the library table. Like, it's just about deciding that you are in charge. There are going to be ups and downs. There's definitely challenges. I have lots of challenges in my life.
Yes, of course. Uh-huh.
But if I look at everything as something I'm learning, and because of that learning, I can do something else, and because of doing something else, I may be living my best life. And so I guess the word I triumphant is what word would you have? It could be courage. It could be something that triggers that positive emotional thought. But is that what you meant?
Yeah. Well, the idea,
Yeah.
the idea. I think for me, I think the word I can think of is, what have I learned? What have I learned
Right.
from whatever happened?
Right.
Is there anything I can learn from this?
Right.
So as long as I have that question while asking that question to me, there is no such a thing as a failure.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I believe. Thank you, Sarah,
That's
so
absolutely-
much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Great.